The Silk Road city of Tashkent, Uzbekistan, was once an independent state in the 18th and 19th centuries. Well, it's hosting its own mini-empire here. The East region of the AFC Champions League, packed with fixtures, packed with football, and packed with two of the biggest teams ever to take part in this competition. It's Gamba Osaka of Japan against Korea Republic's Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. And this is how things currently look in Group H of the East region of the AFC Champions League. It's Gamba Osaka who top the standings, level on points with their opponents today. Gamba won their first game 2-0 over Tampines Rovers. For Jeonbuk Motors, the Warriors, it was a tough victory, 2-1 against Chungray United. Not perhaps as comfortable as they were expected to be. But the 3 points were accomplished for both teams, and now they turn their attention to what could be an absolutely crucial fixture, because second place does not guarantee you anything in this group. Second place is the hit and hope position. If you finish first, you win the group, on you go. Champions League glory within your grasp. And these two sides know what it is to lift that trophy. Gamba Osaka won the AFC Champions League in 2008. That was a couple of years after Jeonbuk Motors won it for the first time. They did it a decade later. The team from Korea Republic is playing in the competition for the 13th time today. They've only gone out in the group stage twice. One of those occasions was last year. The Locomotive Stadium hosting this fixture opened just under a decade ago, and it is, as you'd expect from the name, the home ground of Lokomotiv Tashkent. And that team, a team associated with the railways in Uzbekistan. Well, they know a thing or two about journeys and travelling in this city. It was a Silk Road city where goods, riches, spices, you name it, were transported from east to west. Well, this is all about the East right now. It's the AFC Champions League East region. And for the 5th time, we have a meeting in this competition between Gamba Osaka and Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. In 2015, the most recent contest, it was the Japanese side that won 3-2, and it was a thrilling encounter. Patrick, who starts today, scored one of the goals, as did Shu Kurata. He's on the bench. The other goal scorer was Koki Yonekura. And for Jeonbuk, Leandro Pereira and Urko Vera scored. A month before that, it was a goalless draw between the teams. And back in 2006, Jeonbuk won by 3-2, and there was a 1-1 draw. So they have been evenly matched over the years. Dare we promise goals? Of course not. Dare we promise excitement? Well, possibly. Dare we promise you a meeting between two of the biggest clubs ever to take to the field of play in the AFC Champions League? Absolutely, because it's Gamba Osaka against Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. Upsets avoided in the first fixtures. Now attention turns to the team that they do not want to concede ground to. Each of these sides eyes the other, knowing that the winner of this becomes the favourite to top the group. It's early days, but the fixtures come thick and fast in the East region. There's not much time to gather and lose momentum. It is the AFC's flagship club competition. And for your entertainment right now, we bring you the winners from 2008 and the winners from 2006 and 2016.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Gamba, Osaka and Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors FC.
And so, two teams. The origin of their names may be mechanical, but their football is anything but. Gamba Osaka started life as the Matsushita Electric Industrial Company. They know how to generate a few wins here and there. They're taking on Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors, and let's face it, they've been in fifth gear for years now. The most successful team ever in the Korea Republic League, taking on Gamba Osaka. And the veteran Masaki Higashiguchi starts in goal for Gamba, having barely missed a game for years. At the back, Kim Young-gwon, playing at right back, was born a stone's throw from where Jeonbuk Motors ply their trade and has won the AFC Champions League twice. Patrick starts up front for the team from Kansai, having scored when they met in 2015 and Gamba won 3-2. Mohammed Al-Hoish of Saudi Arabia is the referee for this one. Genta Miura and Hong Chong-ho, the two captains. There has been a little fullback trouble for Jeonbuk, but otherwise all is well for Kim Sang-sik. Lee Pum-young isn't playing much in the league, but he remains the first choice goalkeeper for the AFC Champions League. Defender Kim Min-hyo knows Gamba inside out, having played against them 8 times during his years in the J-League. Japanese player Takehiro Kunimoto was vital against Chingrai United, setting up the opening goal for Lee Sung-gi. Great deal of experience on the substitutes bench, including Leandro Pereira for Gamba Osaka, and the pace and explosive energy of Modu Barrow for Jeonbuk. And so the big one that begins in Group H of the East region of the 2021 AFC Champions League. It is Gamba Osaka in possession. And they attack the goal to your right with the Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors side in their changed kit. The team that plays in the provincial colour of green. An early opportunity here for Yajima right across the face of goal. I think the flag was up anyway. man in charge, but not for long. Masanobu Matsunami only took over about a month ago. And his opposite number, like Matsunami, Kim Sam-sik, former player for the club. And a goal so rapidly that even we missed it. Stanislav Ilyachenko, the player who's been scoring a goal every other game in the league, has taken that form into the AFC Champions League. And in the second minute, it's Gamba Osaka 0, Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors 1. Well, he came on as a sub in the first game. Long clearance from Lee Pum-young. And it's a lovely little setup from Han Ko-won. Simple play, slotted home by Ilyachenko. And he got away from Gen Shoji. Very cool finish from the 30-year-old. Well, it seemed, didn't it, just a matter of seconds before that, that there was going to be an opportunity for Gamba Osaka from Yajima. Albeit the flag was up, and then straight from the restart put in by that man there, Stanislav Ilyachenko. The player who was snapped up by Jeonbuk after his superb season for the Pohang Steelers. Onose. Still Kosuke Onose, now it's Shinya Yajima. Captain Genta Miura. Well, if you're just settling down to watch this one and have just switched the TV on, you've learned your lesson. Don't be late for a game between Gamba Osaka and Jeonbuk Motors. Ollie Hogben here, and it's a real pleasure to bring you a game which is already delivering. Over the top and nearly one for Ilyachenko, who is really a consummate predator. Something that he learned in the lower leagues of German football. Played short and out to Park Sung-ho. It was Patrick who got a rather desperate header on it, but it did the job. Lee-young goes comfortably back to Lee Pum-young, who got everything started with that super long ball. Park Sung-ho. Chae Young-chun, player who's just recently come back to the club after 18 months at the Pohang Steelers. He really seems to have established himself now. The old adage really of going away on loan and impressing. That not too impressive though, because it's a counter-attacking chance here with Kosuke Onose. Ball back for Kohei Okuno. Hideguchi. Now Miura. It looks as though As one might expect, Kosuke Onose is going to be the key creative player down the flank. Again, Shoji, who just couldn't get near Ilyuchenko, or near enough him in the second minute of the game. Onose, Yajima. It's a nice idea from Yajima. Looking for Patrick, who scored when these teams met 6 years ago. Much better now from Gamba Osaka. Cross was aimed either for Patrick or for Yajima, and finding neither. Here is Onose. Only half put away and nearly fired in by Yosuke Ideguchi. Not a player who scores many goals at all. He's never scored in the AFC Champions League. Tall presence of Lee Pum-young and the Jeonbuk goal. And that was a very, very bizarre. Came off a Jeonbuk player. I think it came off him more than once, actually. Let's have a look back at this. Keep our eyes on the far post. Well, I never. That's a real mess from Han Ko-won, especially after his wonderful assist for the opening goal. And goalkeeper getting in the way. It will be Takashi Osami to send in the corner kick. That time cleared with greater authority. As Hiroki Fujihara just slams it back to Osami, and it works. Osami's cross again requires decisive defending, and there is a real response now from Gamba Osaka. It was the captain Hong who nodded it behind. Once again, Osami, a little bit more height on the delivery and too much aggression in the jump. And that was certainly felt by Han Ko-won, 31-year-old. Was Kohei Okuno penalised? Well, it hasn't been the greatest of times for Gamba Osaka. Very troubled and disrupted start to the season, with a number of COVID cases forcing them to postpone games in the league. As a result, they find themselves towards the bottom of the table, in contrast to Jeonbuk Motors, who are in second place. Najima. Back to Kim Young-gwon, the man born so close to where Jeonbuk play their games. Here's a product of Cheonju University. Strangely, has never played actually in the Korean leagues. This one is going to find its way to Yajima, and it should have done. Kenta Miura. Now to Ideguchi, who went close with that deflected effort a few minutes ago. Disciplined at the moment from Jeonbuk Motors. Miura to Onose. It's a nice idea to disrupt things a touch. It's provided a chance perhaps now for Usami to get the cross in. Fujihara it was, working his way down the flank, and not for the first time, a moment of uncertainty at the back that could perhaps have provided Patrick with a chance to finish. Kucharyong on this occasion letting the ball slip in between his legs. One can foresee a mistake happening at the back. Masaki Higashiguchi. Looking for Yajima, plays it first time. Sungi helps to relieve a little of the pressure on Jeonbuk. Kunimoto. The man from Fukuoka Prefecture makes it Gamba Osaka 0, Jeonbuk Motors 2. Deflected shot from the man who set up their first AFC Champions League goal in their opening game. Now he gets a little assist of his own, courtesy of the Gamba Osaka defence. It comes off Yosuke Ideguchi, and really one cannot fault Masaki Higashiguchi. The third goal of his AFC Champions League career, and the first one for his present club. Got the other two for Gyeongnam. Well, things are going exactly as the domestic form would suggest. Jeonbuk have been in such splendid mood for so many years. If they can translate that once more into the way they play in continental competition, they're going to be so hard to stop. As for Gamba Osaka, they might well look at the overall pattern of this game and say, well, we've controlled most of the possession. Here is a chance for Shinya Yajima. What an opportunity for Patrick if he can turn. It's Ideguchi. Now Onose, and a comfortable save really at the near post for Lee Bum-young. But that really case in point to what I was just about to say, which is that Gamba Osaka might well feel they've dominated so much of the game and find themselves caught twice, and that's how it works sometimes. Takashi Osami, they certainly are threatening all the time. Just the 2 shots from the visitors in inverted commas. Everyone a visitor here to the Locomotive Stadium. Kept in play by Hong. Hidekuchi's been very involved early on. He's been fouled here by Ilyuchenko. Honose. Yajima. Miura. Again Shoji. Yajima looks around for some options and has to go back. And it's a real effectiveness and focus to the Jeonbuk Motors side. They're not allowing a great deal in the way of defence splitting opportunities. It's surely going to be a foul, yes. Something of a careless challenge, really, and was it enormously necessary to risk that there? Gives Takashi Osami the chance to trouble Lee Myung. A man who rejoined the club in the middle of 2019 from Augsburg. Spent a few years playing in the German leagues. Osami's delivery is another strong one. It was very nearly, actually, Kim Yong-gwon who got the touch. A player who would probably rather enjoy making some headlines in this game. Hidekuchi. Yajima. Well, at the moment, a most frustrating game for Masanobu Matsunami's side. A gentleman who played for Gamba Osaka from 1993 to 2005, retiring when they won the title. And he was a highly regarded attacker in the early days of the J-League. 46 now, but 18 when he scored a hat-trick in J1 to become the youngest ever player to do it. And Ko-won pulls it back. Well, just wondered if Kunimoto might have hit it. He tried to be altruistic. He tried to be a touch coquettish, but it did not work. Certainly the number 17, Takehiro Kunimoto, is covering a lot of ground very effectively. He's finding plenty of space. It's a great jump from Kim Young-won. It's not a great challenge. Kim Min-hyo goes down the flank, and it's a good touch on. Chance for Ilyuchenko. Looking for the cross, and it's a really good cross too. Nicely controlled and played back for Chae Young-chun. Now it's Paek Sung-ho who fancies a crack. Sliced somewhat by Kim. Han Ko-un. Not too far away. They perhaps have been a touch more clinical, Jeonbuk. One thinks about the chance a couple of minutes ago for Kunimoto as well when he opted to pass. It's easy to be rather louche when analysing those sorts of opportunities when a team's 2-0 up, but there have been 2 5-goal games between these sides in the Champions League over the years. This one's certainly not over. Kim Young-won. It's in towards Patrick, he must score, he does score. It is certainly not over because it's Gamba Osaka 1, Jeonbuk Motors 2. And the man who scored the last time these sides met has lifted the bench and lifted his teammates on the pitch. It's a very well-placed header from Patrick. He scored against Tampines in the opening game, and he's got another here. Fine cross, it must be said, from Hiroki Fujiharu. And now it all feels a very different sort of match. At the start, as the teams were making their way out onto the pitch, I said we daren't promise goals. Probably should have done. Onose goes back to Masaki Higashiguchi. There is a touch more impetus to the play of Gamba Osaka. He's been an important part of it, Hiroki Fujiharu. Asami. And again, here's Fujiharu linking up with Usami. Ideguchi. This is good play. It's very fine play, and it's across the face of goal, taking a touch or two along the way. Better and better from Gamba Osaka. Referee Mohammed Al-Hoyesh unhappy with something that he saw off the ball. Usami, great jump, and somehow that did not go in. And looked for a moment that it was going to be another goal for Patrick and the equaliser. It's a very fine jump as well. I suspect there are a few of you watching that who, when he put head to ball, thought that was on its way into the back of the net. Again, it looks as though it is going to be Hiroki Fujiharu or Takashi Usami that provide something of quality. There is something of quality, and there is the equalising goal. The whole contest turned around. Patrick has a brace, and we have a right old battle. Gamba Osaka 2, Jeonbuk Motors 2. It's glorious entertainment in Group H of the AFC Champions League. It's a quality ball, but it's also a lovely simple layoff from Shinya Yajima, responding to Takashi Usami's longer ball. That's calm, it's very clever, and it's well finished. Exemplary from Patrick. That's his 10th goal in the AFC Champions League. He came into this with a record of 1 in 3. Well, it's got a touch better now, hasn't it? Kim Min-hyo. Touch on the aimless side. It's one of the tried and tested footballing cliches, isn't it, to talk about an early goal enlivening a game, but most cliches are born out of truth to some degree. And when that gentleman was beaten by Stanislav Ilyuchenko in the 2nd minute, the whole game really did start, appropriately enough, for Jeonbuk Motors in 5th gear. Well, now it is Gamba Osaka who, true to their original name, are playing with real electricity. It's a great pull back towards Patrick. Kosuke Onose with the cross. And suddenly the modus operandi is just get the ball to Patrick, because he's playing really well. Looks like he's going to score just about everything he does at the moment. And he can be like that as a player. He is somebody who plays rather in streaks. Rosset need to do something with the second attempt, and that's nicely linked up to Yajima. Jeonbuk are being run ragged defensively. Ball being moved around with increasing effectiveness by Gamba Osaka. They're being so much more clinical than they were in the opening portion of the match. Just 4 minutes or so between Patrick's 2 goals. He is somebody, the Gamba Osaka number 18, who loves a bit of a big game. Scored on his return to the club in the Hanshin derby against Vissel Kobe. One of those players who open or close doors in terms of the stadium. Doesn't really matter. When it's a big game, he is there. Sami to Yajima, very well cut out, but he's going to get another go. Yajima almost found Patrick, and that would have been a sensational setup. Lots of problems for Lee Young. Now, what is that gentleman going to be saying to his players in 10 or so minutes? Kim Sang-sik, who took over last year, very accomplished central defender. Team managed by a striker against a team managed by a defender, both of whom played for the teams that they're now managing and played with real distinction for them too. Kenta Miura. Kosuke. He's had a huge impact, Shinya Yajima. He's played 11 times in the league this season. Did play in the Champions League for Urawa Red Diamonds in 2013 and 2017. So he's no stranger to the competition. Sami, Patrick, uncharacteristically out wide, finding Ideguchi. Promising young Kohei Okuno wearing 17. An exciting prospect he is. Ilyuchenko, who has not really seen a great deal of the ball actually since scoring the opening goal. But then I think many would argue he doesn't really need to see a great deal of the ball. That's what he does with it when he sees it that counts, and last season illustrated that he really can take chances. Sungi, it's cleared by Higashiguchi. This one for Kunimoto. It's gone behind. It will be a goal kick. The man from Takatsuki, the commuter town in the prefecture of Osaka. Masaki Higashiguchi has been such a dependable goalkeeper for his hometown team, or near hometown team. Kenta Miura. Onose. And Shoji positively leathered to Higashiguchi from Kim Min-hyo. Doubtless Kim Min-hyo will have said a great deal to his teammates about Patrick in the build-up to the game. Of course, there is a difference, isn't there, between being told something and actually being able to do something about it. Shinya Yajima. Tough to control for Kunimoto. He did well. So much possession now for Gamba Osaka. But what you do have to say about Jeonbuk Motors is they've been efficient when they've had chances. Hanko-un not able to find a way through, and Osaka just about holding firm defensively with a few minutes to go until half-time. Chae Young-jun, captain Hong Jong-ho, in his fourth year at the club. Shoji not taking any needless risks with Ilyuchenko near him. First taste that Shoji ever had of professional football was in the AFC Champions League. He was an unused sub against the Blue Wings in 2011. Okuno. Hong Jong-ho. Park Seung-ho under some pressure. Useful pressure from Fujiharu. Advantage will be played, and it could be a big advantage here because this is a chance to feed Patrick, and maybe Takashi Usami just took a moment too long. Just a moment. Good Charyong. Chae Young-chun, the overlap provided by Kim Min-hyo. It's well read by Kosuke Onose. Touched on nicely by Patrick to Shinya Yajima. Well, the game's got a real intensity to it, sort of intensity that could well be enlivened significantly further in the second half if some of the pacey players that are on the bench for both of these sides are brought on. One suspects that we have a few more, maybe even a fair few more literal and metaphorical twists and turns to come in this meeting between Gamba Osaka and Jeonbuk Motors. Just a couple of minutes of stoppage time. But you know what? Every minute's a gift in this game. It's great fun, isn't it? One just hopes that the half-time intermission doesn't stagnate the game. Don't really want either of these two sides to come out trying to be careful and cautious. They could just keep banging in the goals, that'd be lovely. He's been a busy player, 29-year-old. He's certainly been busy as well, very busy. It's becoming harder and harder for Jeonbuk Motors to really get the ball forward and keep it forwards. An opportunity now, though, perhaps the last one of the half, and they're going to get a rather needless free kick from the perspective of Gamba Osaka. Lee Sung-gi, the 33-year-old, brought down. It was him who scored the goal against Chingray. The one that was set up by Takehiro Kunimoto. A chance but not converted by Hong Chung-ho for Jeonbuk Motors to end the first half as they started it, with a sucker punch. And it was a sucker punch. But you know what? Gamba Osaka took a big gasp of air and fought back. In the second minute of the game, it was Stanislav Ilyuchenko who gave Jeonbuk Motors the lead. The lead extended by Takehiro Kunimoto with a deflected shot, and then it was over to Patrick. 2 goals in 4 minutes, meaning this one is all to play for in the second half, and it's a thoroughly entertaining game. At the break, Gamba Osaka 2, Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors 2.
Gamba, Osaka. Volunteer number 18, under 12.
Welcome back to Tashkent and this meeting between Gamba Osaka and Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. And if you were with us for the first half, then you'll be hoping, as I'm sure everyone is hoping, let's just have a second half that's of the same calibre and excitement. The story of things so far. Don't mess with Patrick. He's playing extremely well. 2 goals in the space of 4 minutes to totally transform the match. A match that began with a goal scored by Stanislav Ilyuchenko in the 2nd minute, and then 15 minutes later Takehiro Kunimoto doubled the Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors advantage, and even then it was clear there was a way back in for that side. And Masanobu Matsunami will doubtless be thoroughly impressed with the tenacity and the character shown by his players. What does all of that mean in terms of what's coming in the next 45 minutes? Who knows? But it ought to be good fun. Second half shortly to get underway at the Lokomotiv Stadium in Tashkent. City that is the largest in Central Asia. Following on from an enthralling first half, the second gets underway. Gamba Osaka 2, Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors 2 at the break, with the team in white finding themselves in a position of great control, and yet the entire contest turned around. An advantage that did not endure. So we have had some changes made at half-time. Full update on all those in just a moment, because we didn't get much time to introduce the game in the first half, courtesy of Stanislav Ilyuchenko. This already is positively sedate by comparison. So on is Gustavo. 27-year-old has scored 5 times in the league this season, and he scored the penalty kick that made it 2-0 against Chingrai United. Young, played back by Gu Chaorong. Kim Young-gwon brought down by Ilyuchenko. Yeah, no complaining about that. Fairly obvious from a player born in Yashalta in the Russian Federation, but who called Germany home. Or rather, who called Germany home until he made his way to the top flight in Korea Republic a few years ago. It's his 3rd year in K-League 1. Shoji. That's a great touch. Fujiharu almost managed to make his way right the way round through the back door. Out to Han Ko-un, who set up Ilyuchenko for the opening goal. Kim Min-hyo. Young. Han Ko-un is brought down clumsily by Ideguchi. Well, just for confirmation, it's Hong Chong-ho who has been replaced by Gustavo, so a palpable change of intent and change of shape in doing that. Higashiguchi alert to this one. Meanwhile, it is Hiroki Fujiharu who is down and in need of some treatment. 32-year-old from the city of Osaka. He went straight from undergraduate level at the Osaka University of Health and Sports Sciences to Gamba in 2011. He's played over 350 games in all competitions. He also played at the Olympic Games in Rio. And to what extent is this precautionary, to what extent necessary? Hiroki Fujiharu is obviously feeling more than a shade of discomfort, yes, and he's going to have to come off. Keisuke Kurokawa set to come on. So the 24-year-old is replacing the Gamba Osaka veteran. And that is a great shame for Gamba Osaka, because Hiroki Fujiharu has been ever so useful in this game. Such a wonderful cross it was to set up Patrick. So coming on, Keisuke Kurokawa. He came on as a sub for the last 10 minutes in the first match day. Isungi's cross. It's Patrick who flies across the penalty area to deal with that. Usami. Yajima. Kohei Okuno. Ideguchi. Once again, Okuno, versatile and clever young player. Gustavo to Ilyuchenko. There's plenty of force in the attack for Jeonbuk Motors. The addition of Gustavo adds another real finisher to the team. be comfortably shepherded behind by Koo Cha-ryong. Again, Shoji has made life very difficult for his goalkeeper, and very well done, Masaki Higashiguchi, because it looked for a moment as though Gustavo was there. At the other end, Patrick. This time nice and safe from Shoji. Started life as forward, was moved to centre back at Yonego Kita High School. Absolutely hated it, did not want to be put in defence at all. Now here's some pace from the substitute Keisuke Kurokawa. Just ran out of width, but it was a promising sign, because one suspects they will want Kurokawa to continue where Fujiharu left off. Once again, Keisuke Kurokawa, graduate of Kansai University. University founded in 1886, a very fine sporting institution. A lot of Japanese players make their way through the university setup, just as is the case in Korea Republic. So it's often the way that we don't get to see these exciting young athletes until they're about 23 or so, once they've finished their undergraduate studies. And for that man there on the ball, this is really a breakthrough season for him. 10 appearances in the league. He was what's known as a specially designated player when he was an undergraduate. Park Seung-ho goes back to Lee Pum-yong. Gustavo jumps, but it's an easy one for Onose. Usami has the overlap, nearly fell to Kurokawa. Okuno, player who has not gone down the higher education route, but has instead been plying his trade in J3 for Gamba Osaka's under-23 side. Hitaguchi never really was in full control of that. Lee Young looks for Han Ko-won. Kurokawa seeing a lot of the ball, trying to develop that same effective link-up with Takashi Usami that his predecessor in this game did. Hitaguchi, Usami. Simple ball. Najima. And in the end, not at all dangerous from the captain, Genta Miura. Born in Toyohashi, but he moved to Osaka for school when he was a child. I suppose facetiously you might ask me, when else would you move for school other than when you were a child? When he was a young child is what I was getting at. Was with the S-Pulse for several years before joining Gamba in 2017. Well, it may well be we've entered an entirely different phase of this game, one now where no one's trying or no one's willing to risk doing something that costs them the contest. Would these two sides walk away happily with a thrilling 2-2 draw and trust it all to come down to the final game between them? Would Gamba Osaka look at the less than dominant performance of their opponents in their first game against Chingre United and think, well, you might drop some points later on, so as long as we don't lose here, we're better positioned? Probably this is little more than the kind of idle supposition that entertains all of us as spectators. It doesn't really enter too hugely the minds of those with important decisions to make. Higashiguchi makes a decision and just about gets a connection. Fortunately, the connection from Kunimoto was no better. Really, it was trying to make his way past Genta Miura and Patrick, his own teammates, that was the trickiest challenge for the 35-year-old. He was rested for the Emperor's Cup game just a couple of weeks ago, where Gamba Osaka took on Kwansei Gakuin. Nice, interesting meeting that between the big Osaka side and a university relatively local to them. Takehiro Kunimoto will be replaced by Kim Sung-dae. Meanwhile, coming on is Modu Barrow for Hankoun. How interesting this, the addition of the 28-year-old from the Gambia, an incredibly fast and interesting player who can perhaps provide a way for Jeonbuk Hyundai Motor to break through the defence of Gamba Osaka. Well controlled by Lee-Young. First touch for Kim Sung-dae. A little bit more pressure being put on here by the team in white. Lee-Young with the cross. It does almost reach Modu Barrow. Three goals in the league this season for Barrow. He hasn't scored since the 5-0 win against Incheon in April. 9 games now without finding the back of the net. Kim Young-won goes diagonally to absolutely no one. Lee-Young. Oh, it's a great idea to play that all the way through to Kim Sung-dae. Very well defended. Cut out by Shoji. Lovely vision, though. Gustavo, forced back by the attentions of Kenta Miura. Young Park Shin-seong working his way forward down the flank. It goes to Gustavo for a rather, shall we say, ambitious hit. Player from Registro, small city near São Paulo. Joined Jeonbuk Motors last year. First time he's actually played outside of Brazil. Gustavo, a little space, almost being tempted to shoot, almost goaded to shoot, and then by the time there was the opportunity to play it to Ilyuchenko, the shape just wasn't there anymore. The time had passed. Kim, a man who won the Champions League in 2013 and 2015 in his days playing in the People's Republic of China. A clear foul on Usami. Now wearing the armband, Lee-Young. Hidiguchi, who was a touch unfortunate to deflect the shot from Takehiro Kunimoto beyond his own goalkeeper. But he has done as he always does and put in a diligent and sedulous performance. And some problems for Lee-Young here. 34-year-old from Seoul, who's made almost 400 appearances for his various clubs and for his country. Well, certainly Patrick has been a lot quieter in the second half, and he is now making way. Leandro Pereira coming on, along with Shu Kurata for Shinya Yajima. And Kurata, who scored in the 3-2 win against Jeonbuk Motors in 2015. Usami. Takashi Usami again. Kohei Okuno. That had to be defended with real detail, and it was. It's a great header away from the youngster Park Shin-seong, the 20-year-old who's in his first season in the first team. Onose. Leandro Pereira trying to play it on to Shu Kurata. It is once again Leandro Pereira, and then hit by Takashi Usami. 6 appearances in the AFC Champions League without a goal. Does score quite a lot against teams from the Korea Republic. 5 of his 8 AFC Champions League goals have been against teams from that country. But he's certainly not the first name you would expect to hit the back of the net, to provide, most definitely. Higashiguchi, just for a moment there, was possibly perturbed, or maybe he was the only one not perturbed. Back in 2006, that tremendous achievement by the Warriors to become the first club from East Asia to win the then new AFC Champions League, competition that began life in its present form in 2003. And this is the 13th time that Jeonbuk Motors have played in the AFC Champions League. And as I mentioned at the start of the game, they've only gone out in the group stage twice. But this is a very difficult group stage to navigate your way beyond. Just 3 out of the 5 second-place teams guaranteed to make it to the knockout stage of the competition. Here's Kim Young-won. Looks for the lively Usami. He did come off the number 39 last year. I think he knew it deep down. One of a select group of players who has enjoyed the experience of playing in the Champions League in more than one continent. Takashi Usami played in the UEFA Champions League as a substitute for Bayern Munich against Manchester City a decade ago. Flicked on by Ilyuchenko. Leandro Pereira committing the foul. Jumping into Kim Min-hyo. Young. It's an interesting idea to spot Modu Barrow. Certainly somebody who can seize on a ball like that and inject some pace to get away from the chasing defender. Lee Sung-gi. It's Young. Ilyuchenko dispossessed well. Good defending from Gamba. We enter the final stage of this contest as the high leap from Gustavo is clearly going to be penalised, to his irritation with Mohamed Al-Houesh. Well, that's one of those ones, isn't it, where everybody sees it from their own perspective, so the player being fouled will doubtless argue, look, you had your arms on my shoulders, and the player jumping will say, how do you expect me to jump? And we'll all argue about it, nobody will agree. And that's the fun of football. Shoji. Miura looking for Kurata, the substitute. 32-year-old has been with the club since 2001. From the same place as Masaki Higashiguchi, the commuter town of Takatsuki. He was part of the team that won the Champions League in 2008. Didn't actually play in the final. Loose ball seized upon by Kurokawa and then wasted somewhat by Kurokawa, who ululated gutturally in irritation after mishitting that. Yet more changes, and it's going to be the arrival of Ryu Chae-moon. Paik Sung-ho departing the field of play. 27-year-old who joined the club this season after 5 years at Daegu FC. And came on as a substitute at a similar sort of time against Tampines. Becoming a little more frustrated is Ilyuchenko. But he's proved his usefulness in the sense that with just one clear-cut chance he took it and scored. And he has been significantly more restricted since then. And there the youngster Pa Chin-seong. Deguchi moves it to Okuno. He has it back. Patient from Gamba Osaka. Such contrasting 45 minutes. The second half in no way resembling the first. Maybe it was unsustainable. Gustavo looks to pressurise Shoji, who's calm. Still, it's Gamba Osaka who have controlled the ball. Can they seal a victory in a fantastic comeback? That was a touch on the wayward side, to use maybe a euphemism for what was a rather messy challenge, actually, from Ideguchi. You know what? He was not remotely close to getting that. And Young perhaps asking if maybe that warranted more than a rebuke. Hidiguchi. Okuno. It's been a strong response from Gamba Osaka to what Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors did at the start of the game. They just haven't managed to, once they got their opponents on the ropes, finish them off. Masami. Hidiguchi looked for the short ball to Leandro Pereira. He came on as a substitute against Tampines and scored with just a couple of minutes to go. He was a useful impact player. So far, they've restricted Barrow from really having the chance to get the ball feet and run with it. Kurokawa. Kurata comes off Isungi. A sharp turn from Onose, but it's just, no, I thought just for a minute there that Ba Chin-seong had managed to keep that from going behind. It was a good effort. He's only made 4 appearances in the league, all as a substitute. This is his first appearance in the AFC Champions League. Somebody they have a great deal of hope for in the future. Jeonbuk Motors. Could be a duel here between Leandro Pereira and Gustavo. Too much of a duel in the eyes of Mohamed Al-Hoish. Kim Young-gwon as well is trying to escape Kim Min-hyo. In the end, it is Gustavo who wins that battle of the two countrymen. That was well read by Kurokawa, to the irritation of Gustavo, because it could have been a counter-attack, and a decent one for Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. Hidiguchi. I'll be reasonably happy, one suspects, the team in white, if Keisuke Kurokawa is having to drop back like that. It was asking rather a lot, that long ball. Nonetheless, it's still Gamba Osaka's. Well inside the final 10 minutes of regular time. Is it time now to prejudice and curse the entire match by saying it has the feeling of a contest that's going to end in a stalemate, whereupon there will now be a goal in the next 60 seconds? Leandro Pereira. Shukurata. Onose. And in the end, it was neither Kurokawa nor Leandro Pereira who could do anything with it. Shoji. Young-won. Is he going to find some improbable way from a set piece to punish his hometown team? That was needlessly casual. Here is Gustavo. And Kim's got to be careful here. He shoves Gustavo, who goes down, and the referee is disinterested, to say the least. Does Gustavo have a case there? There's no doubt that Kim Young-won created needless difficulty for himself. And maybe he's a little fortunate that there was no greater retribution. Osami, what a good spot for Onose. Taken away from Kurata by Park Shin-seong. Here is Kurata now, who crosses, but it was just way too powerful. Well, this is a look back at what Gustavo was complaining about. Is there a push? Oh, you know what there is, and there's a tug of the shirt, and there'll be people who will argue it's a slight contact and that Gustavo, in inverted commas, goes down too easily, but it's the act of fouling that is significant. It's the attempt to bring him down, and the moment that a player takes a handful of shirt like that, they are surely encouraging a foul to be given against them. I suspect how you view that depends on whether you approach the game with an attacker's or a defender's mentality. Yes, indeed, the clubs from Korea Republic really have notched up the wins in the AFC Champions League, but so far, not tonight. A rare chance for Barrow. Hasn't really used it. It's a half-hearted ball to Ilyuchenko. Here's Sung-gi, who turned 33 earlier this month, and that's going to be a foul. On number 24 on t'other. Kim Sung-dae brought down by Keisuke Kurokawa. No attempt to protest that, was there? Quite rightly. Kim only half away. Lee-young has the height of Gustavo, who does make a connection, but it's all rather easy for Masaki Higashiguchi. Very alert, the veteran goalkeeper. He would have been most embarrassed had that caught him out. It's one of those unfortunate things for goalkeepers, isn't it? Everybody will say that was a comfortable save, quite rightly it was, but goalkeepers will say nobody ever says, well, the goalkeeper was well positioned and did everything technically right. They always just say the striker should have done better, or even worse, they put it straight at the goalkeeper. Yet again, it is Kurokawa on Kim Sung-dae. And with the seconds elapsing, it might be one of the last chances to put Higashiguchi and his goal under pressure. It's going to be Lee-young. Goes to the back post, is nodded away. Furthest back for Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors was Park Jin-sung, trying to find Ilyuchenko. A fascinating, beguiling game. The first half so unpredictable. The second half entirely ill-suited to the first. Any last moments of drama? There's Gustavo with the nod back, and in the end it was Lee Seung-gi looking for Kim Sung-dae with no success. In the AFC Champions League East region, just as was the case in the West, the fixtures come thick and fast. There is little chance to dwell upon what might have been. It was cut out by Genta Miura, with danger of Modu Barrow just skipping him and around and behind. Again, Barrow goes towards it, and they've made this a little tricky for themselves. Park Jin-sung still has the ball, with Gamba Osaka failing to clear. Lee Seung-gi. It certainly is Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors who are finishing the contest closer to sprinting level than their opponents. Lee Young. What a nice idea from Lee Young. Gustavo jumping and fouling. It was a quality cross though from the veteran. It was Gen Shoji who was impeded. Next up for Gamba Osaka, they will take on Chinghae United, and then on the same day Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors will face Tampines Rovers. Coming on, Wellington Silva and Yuji Ono. They have limited time to have any impact. Gashiguchi plays it safe. One last opportunity. Doesn't look like it at the moment. Kurata. Ono not able to control. The last opportunity for Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. If anyone is going to get a chance, it seems it will be them. Being urged to play it forward there was Lee Seung-gi. They've just left it a little too late. Gustavo jumps. Shoji wins that one. Barrow, he's got to do something, and do something quickly. Ilyuchenko, who scored the opening goal of the game. Maybe one last opportunity. Ryu Chae-moon loses the ball, and the chance for victory disappears. But one suspects that both of these teams will be reasonably content at the end of a very peculiar game, because the first half was just madness, backwards and forwards, goal after goal after goal, and then there were virtually no chances at all in the second. So let's consider this one inconclusive. Let's consider Group H in the balance. And let's wait and see what happens when these two sides meet again, which they will do on the 10th of July. It finishes Gamba Osaka 2, Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors 2. Quite some fight back from Gamba Osaka. Patrick taking full advantage of some quality deliveries. And they did have it in their hands, the team from Korea Republic. They started the match so well, but it seems that the priority in the second 45 minutes became about not putting yourself in a precarious position in the group, not throwing anything away. Nothing has been thrown away. The points go equally. Well, it's been a great pleasure having your company for this meeting between Gamba Osaka and Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors.